Hello, welcome to Bennett's Bike Social. Welcome to not very sunny Spain. We're here today on the launch of Kawasaki's new for 2020 Z650.
That exhaust note, it's just so nice. You see that the engine's just so flexible, we haven't changed up yet. So that was from 40 to 90 kph. And then you get up here and the temperature's noticeably dropped. The roads are still wet. I think the farmers have been out, so there's a little bit of mud on the roads, a bit of spray coming off the rear tyres of the bikes in front. It's amazing how different it can be, because in the town everything's perfectly dry and warm. We've just been on the beach. It's really nice. And then we clear the trees, the road dries out a little bit. You can just push on a little bit harder. But, you know, even in sketchy conditions like this, the bike is just so confidence inspiring.
So we've had a chance to spend some time with the bike now. We've done about 60 kilometres, a mixture of town riding, some of the mountain roads, some of the coastal road, and I have to say I'm really impressed with this new bike. Kawasaki are pitching it pretty much as a first big bike. It sits right in the middle of the Z range, starting at the A1 compliant Z125, all the way up to the recently released ZH2 naked hyper bike, I suppose you'd call it. So it fits right in there. It's A2 compatible in as much as you can buy it from the dealer with an A2 restriction. Kawasaki really pitching it at the beginner, the newly experienced rider, but I think it's far more than that. I think the Kawasaki really fulfills everything that you could want from it. So we've come away from the crowds a little bit, and I just wanted to give you a brief overview of some of the new features, what's carried over from the 2019 bike, and some of the little bits that I found interesting on the bike. So there she is, 2020 Kawasaki Z650. Not a revolutionary change from the 2019 model, I'm sure you'll agree. There's plenty of features that carried over, including that gorgeous green trellis frame. But let's start at the ground up and have a look at some of the new features. For this year, there's been a change of tyre. We're now on Dunlop Sportmax Road Sport 2 tyres. And it's a bit sketchy out there this morning. The temperatures are quite low. There's still some damp patches, but they've been really good. They've been a little bit twitchy on the rear. The ABS seems to kick in a little bit early, but all in all, pretty good tyre so far. Kawasaki's pedal brakes carried over from the 2019 model with twin pot Nissin calipers. Moving up, a lot of the styling changes for 2020 have been around the aggressive look, or the Tsugomi as Kawasaki call it. Now, I've heard lots of different explanations of Tsugomi, but I think really it all boils down to a kind of aggressive, sharp, angular look, modern styling. There's been talk of crouching tigers and every styling feature having a technical feature behind it, but I don't really understand it. I don't really care. It just looks really good. So we've got LED lights now, still standard lights for the indicators, although there are LED indicators within the accessories catalogue. The engine is pretty much unchanged for 2020. Parallel twin, developed 67 brake horsepower, that's just over 50 kilowatts, and peak power comes in at 8,000 RPM. In A2 restricted form, which this bike is available direct from the dealers in, developing 47 horsepower or 35 kilowatts at, again, 8,000 peak power. Maximum torque, 64 Newton meters, 6,700 RPM, and in restricted form 58 Newton meters at 4,700 RPM. So I'm guessing restriction is done via rev limits. Now, The torque figures are slightly down on the 2019 figures, but only by 1 or 2 foot-pounds of torque, but mid-range is improved. So the changes this year have been around the exhaust pipe. There's shortened down pipes from the engine, there's a revised intake system, and a shorter end can. Now most of this is driven by Euro 5 emissions, so the bike is fully Euro 5 compliant or compatible. And on the road, the mid-range pull has really impressed me. For a relatively smallish engine, you know, we're not talking 100 horsepower here, we're talking 67 horsepower in standard form. It's really a fantastic engine to use. Moving back, we've got the familiar curved swing arm, which I think just looks great. Reminds me of the early Suzuki RGV series with their banana swing arms. Just to point out that the bungs are an extra. They are from the catalogue, from the accessories catalogue, so that wouldn't be on the standard bike. There's a revised passenger seat for 2020. I think some of the feedback from the Kawasaki team was that the passenger seat on the previous model was a little narrow, a little uncomfortable, so there's some additional padding there for pillions. It's not going to be a long distance tourer, you're not going to go 2 up across Europe on a bike like this, but for the occasional ride I think that's quite useful. Seat height is 790 as standard. Now I'm 5'6", so I tend to favour the shorter bikes, and it's been a real boon this couple of days. You know, we've done a lot of stop-start riding, and a low seat height really has helped. There is in the catalogue a 30mm extended height seat. I tried it, it didn't feel that high. You know, to take it to 820, it didn't really feel any higher. It's a very narrow seat. Narrow in all the right places, so it's really easy to get both feet flat on the floor. Taking a look around the back, we've got that now familiar Z LED rear light, which I just think looks so funky. Quite a lot of criticism online I see of the big plastic fender extenders, but you know, legislation is legislation, they have to comply. So unfortunately these sorts of things are here to stay. And the final addition for the 2020 model, and something that really does put this as unique within class, is the full 10.9cm TFT screen. Nice and bright, gives all the information you would need. As we scroll through trip meters and rider information, fuel consumption, average fuel consumption, range, obviously more information comes if the bike's running. The only thing I did notice that is missing, and not sure if it's that relevant when we're here on the continent, but certainly in the UK, is an ambient air temperature. It's always nice to know when temperatures are plummeting just down to 0, just to see, you know, just give you that advance warning of any ice on shaded corners. And but that seems to be the only emission on the TFT screen. Nice little Kawasaki logo pops up as we switch on and off there. So that's the 2020 Kawasaki Z650. As always, there'll be a full review on Bike Social. Thank you for watching the video. Please leave your comments below and don't forget to subscribe for more great content. Quad bike.